Ever since Kenny Veach's disappearance just recently, one of the most shocking pieces of breaking news was caught on camera by a fellow hiker, and that is of the Mineshaft where Kenny's scent supposedly ended at and where his personal items were found. Ever since, the Mineshaft has well and truly been covered up, and the secrets which lie within it. Hi there, welcome to the Kenny Veach M-Cave mystery today with a full-on, hands-on analysis, side-by-side comparisons of what the Mineshaft once looked like, accessible, and how it appears present time right now, with also including the last known hiker that went out there before it was covered up, and that is Travis Neighbours. So credit to him, and also credit to Driven X Adventures, who notified people about what's recently gone down. Arguably, within 1 month, this has all happened, and it's not just the Mineshaft which has been altered with, but the surrounding area. Other items of interest and mysteries have long gone now. So join me today as I share with you all of that, the backstory behind it, the explanation behind the cover-up at the Mineshaft, and how it can implicate the case negatively, and even the so-called return of Really Robin has showed up today, pointing the fingers at someone. There's a bit of a blame game going on, but at the end of the day, important secrets have been hidden. So what happens next? What will next be covered up or hidden? That's where you've got to keep an open eye out. What I want to say before we go any further is welcome if you're currently here during this live premiere. Share your thoughts and reactions in the live chat on the right side of the screen. And for anyone else at any point and those on catch up, be sure to leave your thoughts down below in the comment section under the video. It will help with spreading awareness. This video does need awareness. Driven X Adventures hike footage needs awareness too, because this is really breaking news. To this extent and level, it's never been seen before. Whilst you can argue the supposed covered up M-Cave, but Kenny Veach caught that on camera anyway, it was already covered up then. But in this particular situation, it has definitely been done by the presence of humans. Some could say it's done for safety reasons, because with it being an open mineshaft, anyone could fall in. But why now, of all times? There's been many times, many people that have been there previously, dating back to 2017 with Jeff Clark, 2018 with the YouTube channel called Off the Trail, that uploaded the video of their hike in 2018, 3 years ago. Furthermore, in 2020, you had Outpost Mojave, I think, in October 25th, 2020. And then in 2021 onwards, you had the presence of Scott Natal going into the Mineshaft. And then once again, in 2022, January, returning back to the Mineshaft, exploring within. In 2023, or around that, you had SB Vega's adventures as well. And then in 2025, around the 10th of May, you had 4949 Shooter, I think, credit to them, who visited the Mineshaft, took photos. And then in October of 2025, you had Travis Neighbours. And just recently, probably November 8th to 9th, you had Driven X Adventures doing a live stream. That's roughly the order, and the people that have come and gone from the Mineshaft, and a couple of them have gone inside and explored. So archived footage is out there. Some screenshots do exist, which I'm using today as side-by-side comparisons to show you the difference over time and the short time frame of when it all changed. It will shock you, but be sure to stick around for the full analysis and the full understanding. If you want, it'll be appreciated if you hit the like button and share the video, because this really does need awareness. The order of how we'll do things today, I'll play to you the original footage of Driven X Adventures, showing it from his point of view, explaining why it was done and who is responsible, and then we'll start analysing the photos. With that being said, listen in, relax, and here we go.
A lot of people don't know this happened, and I know why it happened, but there you go. It's been filled. The Mineshaft has been filled. And the reason it's filled is because there's this dumbass out there. He goes by the name of Really Robin. He did a video where he said he was putting a flash drive down in the mineshaft that reveals the secret of Kenny Veach. Well, Susan Veach contacted the National Wildlife Refuge, told them what this individual did, and what they said. I'm going to show that on my other video that I'm making now about up here. All of her comments that she wrote to the National Wildlife Refuge, along with the response from them in what they were going to do. And obviously, this is what they did. They filled up the mine shaft. They put like a foam bomb in there, and it explodes really fast, and it fills up with foam. And then once it fills up to a certain point, then they took all the soil that was right over here in this area and over here in this area, and they filled it up.
After watching that new footage, it's rather disturbing and shocking how drastic of a change that's been made, and it's not exactly easily reversible. So anything that's still in there till this day may never be recovered ever again or explored. What you're looking at on screen right now is from Kenny Veach's point of view back in 2014 on his October hike. You can see how open it is and accessible, how the ladder's still intact, and it goes all the way down to the bottom. And then onwards, October 25th, 2020, when Outpost Mojave went down there, still open, accessible, ladders somewhat okay. And when zooming in down to the bottom, where there's a bit of light from one of the hikers searching around, you can see the ground level. You can see some barrels and things buried and debris too. Even going further past the years, when Travis Monson, taking a screenshot just recently, about a couple of days ago, 1 month-old comment, he said, "I went to the mineshaft 2 days ago." At the time of when his video was uploaded, 8th of October, around the 8th of October or a couple of days before, that's when Travis went out. And supposedly, Travis Neighbours is the last known hiker to ever go to the mineshaft and document it before it was covered up. That's how raw it really is, within a 1 month time frame period from when Travis was there to when Driven X Adventures had come about. As you see here, it's slightly different compared to how it did, for example, in 2020, but that's just because some loose boards were put across out of safety reasons. That might have been done by fellow hikers, making the hole a little bit smaller, but still accessible. That these planks of wood that you see going across are just resting, but they could easily be moved and shifted. I believe when SB Vega's Adventures went there at one point, he did move the boards to be able to access it, but then he moved the boards back to keep it all in place, which is understandable. Now, with Travis being there, when looking around at what's present, the planks of wood, and in the background too, the surrounding area, most of the things are still present. But you start comparing that to Driven X Adventures footage, there are drastic changes, and we'll get to that shortly. And as you can see here, it says 14 hours ago. This screenshot was taken by me today. So it's about yesterday or so when Driven did his live stream, and he's supposedly doing a follow-up live stream again either tonight or tomorrow, so be on the lookout for it. What I'm trying to get at is this is very recent, the footage, in coming across it within a 1 month time frame period. And as you see there, that's what it looks like. You see a tripod there with a camera or lighting, that's Driven's own equipment, and the phone that you see near the mineshaft from his footage, it's his phone. It's not to do with Kenny Veach, just to make that very clear. But look at how compact and filled it is. When you saw Driven step on in, he jumped on it. Just imagine doing that when there's nothing there. Or if there was so much there and it was a bit of a false floor, you would go right through. And yet, he didn't. That's how full it truly is, how compact and strong. When you compare it, this is what you're looking at from Kenny's point of view of 2014, all the way up to October of 2025 from Travis' point of view. And then 2025 on the right as of November this month. Look at the difference from left to right. This is the same mineshaft, the same opening. Look at how deep it really is, and look at how full it's now become. Anything down there of interest, tunnelways, underground networks, passageways, previous fill-ins, no longer accessible. The supposed missing crystal skull, or a crystal skull that was placed down there, no longer accessible. Travis recorded himself putting a baseball down there out of respect for Kenny, etc., and recorded himself documenting it so it wouldn't become a mystery unsolved. But even that's buried down there now, all because of Really Robin and Susan Veach's influence. It's crazy how much of a change can be made in such a short amount of time when you take in consideration everything that's happened beforehand. So when it comes to the pen drive video by the so-called Really Robin, whether it be the original hiker Robin or an impersonator individual, they had this pen drive claiming to have intel, information, proof, video footage, audio recordings of Kenny Veach alive post-2014 onwards. And yet Robin was willing to put this piece of important evidence deep into the mineshaft and also claiming he had already done it. When you look here, this is the description of his short video. But there's a major red flag. This video was uploaded 13th of November 2024. Is it not a coincidence how the month overlaps with Driven X Adventures finding the mineshaft being filled in? Maybe. But the fact it was 2024, about a year ago when this video was uploaded. And take in mind, the anniversary of Kenny's disappearance when going missing was the 10th of November, which I think is the date of when Driven did his live stream out there, the 11th anniversary onwards. But back in 2024, a year ago, 3 days after Kenny's anniversary, that Robin decided to say he put the pen drive into the mineshaft. Is that not weird? And the reason why it stands out even more is because it's that long ago. And back then, the mineshaft was still accessible. Back when Travis was out there, you know? This one. Travis, 1 month ago, this is what he recorded when out there. 1 month ago, it was accessible. Yet 1 year ago, Robin supposedly put the pen drive into the mineshaft from the looks of it. Based on his description, based on when the video was uploaded, unless the description was edited a year on. Who knows? But as it says, that the pen drive has been dropped into the mineshaft 2 days ago. So that's what, 2 days before the 13th of November? So on the anniversary of Kenny, that's when it was placed in there. Now, recently I criticised it and said, why would you put such an important piece of evidence and throw it out there up for grabs for anyone to get a hold of, including the opposition that may be wanting to hide the truth of Kenny Veach? If everybody has equal chances, who's going to get there first? Well, it looks like no one really got there first because it's completely shut off. But why did it take 1 year for that to take place? So Driven had mentioned, and he supposedly will show proof of it in material-wise coming up in a video, but this is Susan Veach, the sister-in-law to Kenny Veach, an individual that's very critical of Kenny's family and the dark secrets behind it, as well as critical towards Kenny Veach, who is supposedly alive and still out there, staging his disappearance. And whilst there is material and there is footage, to suggest he's still alive or was up to a certain point, you've got to look at it from different perspectives. But whilst Susan believes Kenny isn't in the desert and he's elsewhere, Susan has also encouraged and wanted other hikers to stop going out into the Mojave Desert so they don't get hurt, so they don't fall into the mineshaft or whatever, because it's like a wild goose chase. You're not going to find Kenny out there because he just isn't. He's alive, he's elsewhere, living. So Susan didn't want any other hikers to waste their time or risk their lives. And that's understandable. But at the end of the day, hikers can make their own choice as to what they do and where they go. Beside Kenny, you got the M Cave mystery. Besides the M Cave mystery, you got the paranormal footsteps, the voices, the whispers, the symbols, the weird activity going on out there, the vibrations, the zapping, the lost time, the missing equipment. When Jeff Clark tried recording a camera behind him on his backpack, no damage, no rips, no tears, no holes. The camera equipment all mysteriously disappeared. So many unexplained things need to be investigated. Yet, for example, Susan Veach doesn't want hikers out there. And you know what's the biggest contradiction? That if the pen drive by Really Robin was put into the mineshaft, this one here, when it was accessible, and then news got about by Susan Veach to spread it to the DNWR, Desert Wildlife Refuge Centre, etc. Why did it take 1 year? 1 year ago, Robin put the pen drive supposedly into the mineshaft and nothing was done in between. At what point did Susan directly reach out? This video has been known for some time now, and it's only recently when Susan decided to take action? What about all the years before when the hikers went out there, went into the mineshaft and were okay? Even Scott Natal, who didn't even use a rope and just relied on the rickety, dangerous ladder. Okay, maybe for safety concerns, but don't you think the timing is bad and the motive behind it isn't great? Because if Susan is all about truth in proving that Kenny Veach is alive and is out there and not in the desert, and if you've got Really Robin that's claiming that he has a pen drive which has the truth on it, which shows Kenny Veach alive, his voice, his face captured, then surely you would want that to be found. And yet Susan has supposedly reached out for that mineshaft to be filled in which the pen drive, which holds the truth, which falls in line with what Susan's getting at, deep in the mineshaft, completely filled in and buried and hidden, inaccessible. Why would Susan want to push the truth that Kenny's alive, but also hide the truth of evidence which shows and supports that? It makes no sense. Even if Robin is lying here and Susan took it as a false warning or so, the fact that these two individuals are supposedly on the same wavelength in saying that Kenny's alive, but Susan also wants the evidence to be hidden, you're going against your own beliefs. Surely you would want evidence out there to be found, but instead you want it to be covered up. It makes no sense. And there'll be additional things out there as well which need to be looked at. But before we go any further, let's at least slow down and acknowledge the other angles and viewpoints of Driven's footage when panning around. So what you're looking at is roughly facing north up Little Jomay Canyon. And the ridge over there, the mountains, where it dips up and down, that is roughly Wild Horse Pass. And then off screen more to the left, up that mountain or hill you want to call it, there was a prospect mine which SB came across. It wasn't anything deep or anything like that, but there was some activity over there with potential mining. But the original mine shaft which Kenny Veach stood near, as you see here, it is different to how it was previously. It's more clear now. You know, there's not as much debris. All those planks of wood gone. The only planks of wood which remain, supposedly, are the same ones which were there in like 2022, 23, the loose planks which were used to kind of like make the whole of the mine shaft a little bit smaller, loose planks. They're still present, but the rest in the background aren't. And I'll do a side-by-side comparison so it's a bit clearer for you. But more importantly, I said in recent time as a hint, imagine if there was more activity and altering of the environment, the terrain, the ground, a potential mine shaft. And look what's happened. Indirectly, I predicted it. So creepy. And furthermore, I mentioned about ground disturbance, soil disturbance. You can see the mound, you can see the discoloration, how it's changed, how it's either been dug up or moved to the side, and part of that has been used into the mineshaft to fill it up with other debris and bits and bobs too, to make it compact, to make it hard. So if by any chance anyone did try getting in or fall in it or stand in it, they're not going to go all the way through. And Driven displayed that as an example. But beside that angle, a bit more clearer here, you can see the log on the left, that's not moved. But there's some other items that have disappeared. And I don't know if you know about that, but we'll get to that shortly. And then on the right, you got the planks which go across close to the brace of the ladder and the brace itself. That brace has been ripped off in the past by somebody else, unexplained mystery. The rungs on the ladder, which you can't see here, some of which at the top were damaged with time, but Off the Trail YouTube channel in 2018 onwards referred back to that hike and admitted that they were responsible for that part, but the brace, they weren't responsible. So you got some loose planks, slightly a bit more to the right, which happened with time. I can't remember exactly when it was noticed, probably 2022, 23 onwards, where before the ladder bit, you had like this dirt which was kicked over, as you see, as it overlaps with the planks of wood going across, loose stones, like it's been kicked aside, some soil disturbance in the gaps as well, where you see the entrance of the vertical mine shaft. So either people have been kicking the dirt across accidentally when moving close to the mine shaft, or trying to dig away or something before it was filled in. So there is that interesting activity. And I think over there is the agave burn pit, that white circle. And the reason why that's interesting is because when SB in recent time came across the other mine shaft a bit further back than this one, there was another agave burn pit. So is it wherever there's an agave burn pit, there's by coincidence or chance there is a mine shaft nearby? I don't know. It's just a bit of a coincidence. Nevertheless, it's really interesting how it has been filled in. The sheer depth of it as well. Now, this is where we start with the side-by-side comparisons, and hopefully it's clear enough. This is to signify the short distance and timing between it. October of 2025 to November of 2025, roughly a 1 month difference. Look at how drastic things have changed. Now, I've tried using the best camera angles possible to highlight what I'm getting at. So what you see on the left is Travis Neighbours. What you see on the right, the two photos of the circles, are by Driven X Adventures. And what I'm getting at is, when you look in the background, planks and planks of wood which have been there for many years, even when Kenny Veach was out there. Lots of planks of wood. Some may have been moved with time. A couple were actually turned into some kind of supply cache, which J Chuck was first to capture on camera early January of 2024. I'll show you some photos of that later. But when you compare it to Driven, 1 month onwards, as you see here, for example, from a side profile facing north, behind the mine shaft, it's nothing. It's empty. It's just dirt, whether it be turned over or a bit of ground disturbance. It's just dirt, the ground itself is flat. There's a bit of a mound of dirt as well. Yet 1 month before, you got all that wood, all that debris. Where did it go? Was it chucked into the mine shaft along with everything else just to clean up? Was it towed away or taken off? Because you can't get vehicles up Little Joe May Canyon. Vehicles aren't, practical. Was a helicopter used to clear the debris? Was it all collected in one place and then it would have to have been taken away? Because when panning the camera around, you just don't see it anymore. From that angle profile, you don't see it whatsoever. And then from the more so the front profile, as you see here, it's just not visible, right? It's just not there. Behind the mine shaft, it's not there. Beside on the left, no debris there either. Yet there is behind the mine shaft when Travis was there. So just feel free to pause the video if you want to sink it in, you can understand it. Understandably, the camera angles aren't perfect, but you can clearly see, and even in the footage, that there is a big difference. No longer there. So where did it go, and how was it taken away? But that's not the only thing. For example, January 1st, 2022. I believe this was either off the trail, I think, when they went back out there, and they were recording with a drone. This is aerial view looking down at the mineshaft. A drone, which people have said you're not allowed to use out there, but they did. But no complaints, it gives you a better angle. Look at behind the mineshaft where I've got it highlighted in the box. Look at all that wood, the chunkiness of that wood. Okay, there's snow covering a different change of season. But all that wood, what you see there, just behind the mineshaft, well, look, it's not there. Right? I know that's years apart, but you can just compare that with Travis 1 month ago where there was planks of wood, right? Planks of wood there behind the mineshaft. Few years ago, planks of wood behind the mineshaft. No change. So from 2022 to 2025 of October, there wasn't much of a change, as with some other items too. Yet from October 25 to November, huge difference. So the people that filled in the mineshaft have also moved the other items about nearby. But it's not just wood. It also includes a personal item which hiker Jay Silverheels left behind. Now, there was a bit of confusion previously. SB Vega's Adventures originally wasn't aware of the loose coins which were claimed to be found by Red Rock Search and Rescue. All they ever talk about in news articles is Kenny's phone being found at the mineshaft, but really no articles acknowledge the loose coins by Kenny. Now, SB brought up and said, oh, you mean the coins of some other situation? But just to clear it up, what SB came across and other people have since aren't the coins of Kenny Veach. They're the coins by Jay Silverheels, left as a memento, left to acknowledge Kenny. Just like how Travis put a baseball into the mineshaft. Just like how Jay Silverheels left an empty beer or a beer bottle, beer can outside one of the supposed M-shaped caves down Picture Canyon. That's all it is. But there is activity. So as you see there's a bit of like a pouch, some loose rocks or stones, and those shiny circles are coins. That was done by Jay Silverheels. He did record himself putting it there, but I don't know if he deleted his hike footage afterwards. But I do remember, so I just wanted to spread that awareness to let you know that is not Kenny Veach's coins, that's Jay Silverheels. However, when Red Rock went in 2014, the 22nd of November, they found something similar to this, coins and Kenny's phone, which is really strange. With that being in mind, also visually seeing it this way, the mineshaft, the opening, and how dark and deep it can be, whereas you compare it with the footage what we're seeing, it's not now, you see the difference. But besides this photo, and this one when it's zoomed in to make it clearer, you see this now. One on the right, November, is Driven X Adventures. The one on the left, January 2022, by Off the Trail, I think. But yeah, in terms of, the visual look of it, aerial footage looking down on the left, and then on the right, ground footage panning more to the left. But, where you see that log there on the side off the platform is what you see there on the left. And then in the middle, on the ground, you got that. Well, look, there's nothing there. That's been moved as well. So this is what I mean. It's strange how things have been moved about. And then some loose rocks and stones as well have been moved. Now, if you don't like that camera angle, the next best one is by Travis himself. So once again, to reinforce the big difference between a 1 month period, you got the log there off the platform, and then you got the log there too. Hopefully you can see it. In terms of the coins or the pouch, that small little orange thing that you see there is by Jay Silverheels. It's hard to see the coins, whether they're still there, if they've been blown off, or if someone stole them. That's by J. Silverheels, right? It's the same pouch, that orange thing, whether it be a pouch or, I think it is, and then the coins nearby. That is what you see there. Okay, it's the same thing. It looks like it might have shifted, been moved a little bit. Is there anything else? Well, in the background there's bits of debris, as you see there. And then you've got that there, which I'm not too sure what it is, whether it's Travis equipment or some old piece of gear, but whatever, there are things present nearby. But you compare that to the right, it's completely bare. All the debris, the planks of wood, the coins by Silverheels, the mementos, the rubbish and the relics, all gone. It could have all been scooped up and thrown into the mineshaft like a bin, maybe. But still, it's not only filling the mineshaft, but taking other items away or making them disappear. And it's unfortunate in some ways. You know, things that may be buried and hidden and dispersed, and it just makes you think, well, what else will be? What next? What other secrets out there which have been caught on camera since could, you know, later be filled in and become inaccessible? If the military wanted a land proposal takeover of the area but didn't get what they wanted, but the DNWR are responsible for filling and covering up stuff, is that on behalf of the military? Is there some kind of cross connection going on? Because you've got to remember, supposedly this is the location where Kenny's sen ended at. So either something happened to Kenny right here, or he double backed on himself. The fact that there's activity going on till this day, after a long delay since what Robin claimed to have done, is what's most questionable. Why didn't Susan act on it 1 year ago? Why not just, why has it happened more recent from the looks of it, based on what Driven says? The only other way would be Susan picked up on it in the past, reported it in, and then the DNWR decided to take their sweet time in taking action. The cost of it, I don't know how much it would cost. The time and the distance, 3 to 4 hours to hike out there, depends how they arrived, on foot or by helicopter, and the equipment as well taken. It makes you think. But look at how a 1 month frame can make such a big difference. And speaking of which, more so if you were at the mineshaft and you were looking east towards the mountains where Kenny pointed up and said Gas Peak, but he meant to say Sheep Peak. Well, before, you know, going to the mountains, just on ground level near to the mineshaft east, you had the vegetation and then planks of wood from the mineshaft, which some people gathered and put together to construct a supply cache. Now, people did come forward and admitted that they were responsible. I'm not too confident, but I have documented it somewhere on my channel previously. It might have been Outpost Mojave that did it. I could be wrong, but it's one of those lesser known groups. And basically, you've got plank of wood, which isn't an arrow, it's just a coincidence that it had a tip. You know, the ones responsible claimed that they weren't trying to give any clues or any indications that Kenny's gone east. It was just the plank of wood, what they used at the time. Bit of a rock cairn as well behind the plank. Closer look up front, it says food, water, fire. As you see there. Under here, rest in peace, Kenny Veach, and then just a smiley face. Nothing harmful, nothing dark. It was a mystery at the time, but then it was resolved. And then there's rock cairn with some red ribbon or so. Now, J Chuck did record it at the time in 2024. SB also captured it as well at some point, which might have been in 2023. A certain time frame period, and then the items are underneath. However, taking that into consideration, best of one's ability where it was being constructed, but I don't think it was quite in place in 2022, but the planks of wood and the rocks were there. The reason why I'm using this specific angle is because it's the only one really available, whereas J Chuck went out there in 2024 and it does show this supply cache. And I think SB as well in 2023, it's not from the same camera angle. So I just wanted to let you know that what you see on the left in 2022 was captured by Scott Natal, and that's facing east. So you stood near the mineshaft and you're looking east and the mountains are in the background. You see the planks of wood, the stacks of rock, which were later to be constructed, put together as a supply cache. Yet November of 2025, there's nothing. Completely bare once again. Just like the perimeter of the Mineshaft entrance. It's just all bare. So that's rather interesting. And whilst 2022 to 2025 is a big difference, when you look at Travis' neighbours, who was out there 1 month before the fill-in of the mineshaft, as you see on the right, that photo, from a slightly different camera angle, where you've got that bush there, okay, roughly or so, is what you see here, just from a different angle. And what you see on the left by Scott Natal's point of view, slightly off camera over there are some additional planks of wood, which were still noticeable in October 2025 when facing more north where Travis was at. Look, you can see the planks of wood there. I don't know what that red thing is. Is that some kind of helmet or balloon? Let me know what you think. But, you know, planks of wood scattered about. I don't know if it's more scattered than usual. Then off to the left, which is close towards the mineshaft. Over there is Wild Horse Pass facing north. Camera tripod just over that way. Travis, his equipment. And then off camera, to the right where you see those planks of wood, just behind this bush area, or more so in front of the bush, those planks of wood is where the supply cache was. So even 1 month before the fill-in, the supply cache was there. But 1 month later, in front of that bush, completely gone. All those planks of wood, the thick wood, gone. There's been a big clean-up in the area. But why? What danger is that debris? Why not just leave it as it is? Considering that the rules and the laws are you can't take away artifacts, you can't adjust or manipulate the rocks out there or you know, move or touch stuff. You got to leave it all as it is. But the DNWR can make their own rules up and move what they like when they want. That's kind of interesting. The only other thing that Driven X Adventures said that a couple of months beforehand, when he was out there doing a shorter hike, he noticed there was a lot of footprints, not steps, but prints going up and down to the mineshaft, maybe 15 plus people, and also suggested that over in the distance, more so facing over that way, where people set up volunteers in the process of filling in the mineshaft. But if that was the case a few months ago, that's before Travis. And when Travis was out there, though, after, everything was still in place from the looks of it. So I don't know what's going on there, but you can still see the debris about. And speaking of really Robin, who's commented as of today, a bit earlier on, Carl originally said on one of my videos, I saw that Sharon, spelt differently, but Sharon Pilgrim, but that's the thing, let me just make that very clear. Carl has got the name mixed up. I'll do this on the spot just so no one else gets confused. It's not Sharon Pilgrim, that's the girlfriend to Kenny. Some say Sharon, but it's Sharon. No, it's Susan Veach. Susan Veach, sister-in-law to Kenny, that called, supposedly, the DNWR about Really Robin and the pen drive. And Robin's response, as of earlier today, said that Susan wanted to... that Susan herself, that she wanted it to be buried forever, as in the pen drive, because she wants to get away with it and she has a lot to hide. Which is weird, because Susan has been the vocal one all this time claiming Kenny's alive and he's not in the desert, he's elsewhere. And Robin claiming to have a pen drive which has the proof of Kenny is alive, and Susan doesn't want that to be found, so she gets people to fill in the mineshaft. So the person that speaks the loudest and says Kenny's alive, are they secretly meaning that Kenny isn't and Kenny is out there and there is something to do with the mineshaft? That's quite a dark twist towards it, but you can see there is a bit of finger pointing going on. In addition, Robin says, but what could you possibly expect from a scared old woman with a lot behind her ears? Typical reaction to fear, bury the evidence, but I made several copies considering what's on that pen drive. Oh, is that Sam? So that's very interesting all of a sudden that Robin now says that he does have copies. Now, it is a smart thing to do, of course, but the whole original point of pen drive has been put into the mineshaft, first come, first serve, whoever finds the truth first, in the hands of the right people or the wrong people. But putting it in a place like that when it could have just been given to authorities or someone of importance and responsibility-wise and trust, it would have been more practical doing it different ways. But is there a possibility that this so-called Robin, if it was all true, that the reason why the pen drive was described as the be-all and end-all and the only piece of sole surviving evidence was claimed to have been put into the mineshaft, whether it truly was or wasn't, was to get people to react, as in the likes of Susan Veach, where you plant something, you've already got copies of it already, but you make it out that there's one piece of golden truth and evidence and you claim that it's been put or it's gone somewhere to measure, to track for a reaction by anyone. If anyone pulls, if anyone grabs the bait, maybe they're responsible. You put a pen drive out there and then you wait, bide your time until someone takes it away or reacts in some way when it comes across as resistance, like they don't want it to be found, or they want to get there first but not share it with anyone. So someone like Susan Veach, based on a theory with all this, who would not be able to hike out there whatsoever due to age, mobility, the weather, temperatures, the environment, the terrain, how dangerous and rough and demanding it is, even for proper hikers. People like that, sister-in-law to Kenny, wouldn't be out there hiking, and probably other family members wouldn't be too. So how else can you get a hold of that pen drive? Maybe you can't get a hold of it, but you can at least bury and prevent anyone else from going out there and retrieving it. Now, the only thing to acknowledge is, if this pen drive was put there in 2024, ever since other hikers have been there, but have they gone inside of the mineshaft? I don't think so. So they wouldn't have known about looking for a pen drive. Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. If anyone has been into the mineshaft exploring from 2024 of November onwards, reach out down below. And then we can maybe look at footage to see if there was any indication of a pen drive ever taking place. But it still comes back to pen drive or not. If the motive by Susan was to get the DNWR to fill up the mineshaft, why now? Why not in the past? It's just weird timing. And there are supposedly other secrets as well with that mineshaft. You know, Crystal Skull caught on camera, which was in there and then once disappeared. That's weird. We won't know about that now because you can't get into the mineshaft. The so-called underground tunnel networks, which were filled in at some point, possible access entry points, which could lead to maybe the M cave or lead to an underground base, or lead to a tunnel network which eventually does go over to restricted military land. All those possibilities, right, they can't really be explored the same way now because it's just been filled in the mineshaft, which is disappointing, but it's also a little bit disturbing, like the truth is being covered up. Now, not that it is the case, but you know the people out there that genuinely believe that Kenny went into the mineshaft, either fell in, explored inside, and then got trapped. Yeah, he might be dead down there, and maybe there was a fill-in, so you wouldn't really be able to see clearly if Kenny's down there or not as for bones and remains. But just put it this way, there's no way of really knowing now whatsoever because it's well and truly buried. So just imagine if Kenny Veach was in that mineshaft already hidden in some way, and you've got Susan, sister-in-law to Kenny, that wanted it filled in properly. It's like the equivalent of Kenny coming across the supposed M cave and then later saying, well, it was easy to find, but I couldn't find it this time round. And as I said, when something is hidden or out of place, you come across it, maybe 1 in a million chance. But once you found it, as hidden as it is, it's now accessible and you remember the route, you know the location. So of course for you at least, it's going to be easier because you have the knowledge now. How does it get harder if you go back out there and can't find it? How does it get harder? Well, one reason could be the terrain, the environment. A possible cave has been altered with, adjusted, made to look different. So the next time you go out there, you're somewhat familiar with the area, but what you're looking at is different to what you originally saw and imagined. So it throws you off. It leads to you questioning and doubting yourself by third-party people implementing a change to the environment to make you look crazy, to make you look like you're cracking up, and then you just think nothing of it and just walk on by and forget. Is that what happened with the Mineshaft in some way? Wanting to cover something up within there? This level of resistance, this level of concealment, when there's other mines and shafts out there which are somewhat accessible, which are dangerous, they've not been filled in. So why this one in particular? Now it's making me think, what about the other mineshaft which SB investigated a month or two ago? Has that been filled in as well? Or is it just one mineshaft? Because if it's very specific and selective as to which one's filled in and which ones aren't, there seems to be a bit more depth, weight and motive behind it. Yeah, it's a dangerous mineshaft, but so are many other areas out there. The mountains, the cliffs, Sheep Peak, Hayford Peak. It doesn't stop people going up there. People go up there with their own caution and responsibility. What are they going to do next? Put all fence posts and barbed wire around these peaks saying you can't go up there because it's too dangerous. Likely they're not going to do that. Oh, but they'll go out of their way to fill up a mineshaft and hide secrets in there too and get rid of all the remaining stuff nearby which told a story to the case. It's like it's been written off. It's like it's been washed away, removed and hidden with time slowly. In this case, it was quite a big situation. From news articles in the past being deleted online, from Kenny Veach's comment online being deleted, from Kenny Veach's videos on his channel, Original Hype videos, being removed. What else is going to go next? What else is going to get deleted? It's getting a bit ridiculous, this. So you let me know what you think down below in the comments, because I think there's a lot to unpack and talk about. And if we need to do a map analysis or some kind of follow-up to this, a live stream or a normal video, I'll do that shortly, but we need to see what goes down in the meantime and what comes from this, if anything. And also acknowledgement to the hikers that have been out there since, on and off, and Driven X Adventures with upcoming videos too. Be sure to look out for him, where it goes into a bit more depth, supposedly, of the material showing Susan, comments made and all that with the DNWR. If a follow-up's needed, then I'll do so. But I'll provide a link down below in the comment section, description too. And yeah, that's it for now. My name's Warlike Raf. Be sure to hit the hype button if you're on mobile. This is extremely important. Awareness needs to be spread because this is one of the key components in the case. This is what most people on the base level know of. Kenny, Mineshaft, scent ended, phone found. Well, it's now being all covered up. So be sure to hit the hype button if you're on mobile. Lower down, swipe across from the comment section. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, share the video. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Good night for now.